And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. Our phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And when we think of December 7th, 1941, obviously it is a day, as President Roosevelt said, that will live in infamy. Joining us now is retired Admiral Thomas Lynch, who served more than 31 years in the Navy, including command of the Eisenhower Battle Group during Operation Desert Shield, and as the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy. He is the executive chairman of New Day USA. And Admiral Lynch, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service, sir.
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's my pleasure to be with you. I'm here in Annapolis, Maryland, about 10 degrees warmer than what you have out there, but clear skies. And as far as my service, it was a privilege to serve. So I thank you and the American people for allowing me that opportunity.
What does this day mean to the Navy?
It is a day of remembrance. It's a day of alertness. It's a day of reflection because, back on the 7th of December, 76 years ago, 7th of December, 1941, it was a Sunday morning, 7:55 in the morning. We had peace negotiations ongoing with the Japanese, and then to be awakened and realize that we have been a sneak attack at Pearl Harbor that destroyed 5 battleships, 3 destroyers, more than another 7 or 8 ships, 200 airplanes on the ground, but more importantly, 2,400 American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine were killed, and another 1,200 wounded. And that led to, immediately, as you mentioned, President Roosevelt declared it a day of infamy that will live forever. And it created the catalyst for World War II. We declared war on Japan, and then Italy and Germany declared war on us. And that led to World War II. We also were 400,000 people in that war. So, and the millions were killed around the world. So, yeah, it was. So it's a day for the United States Navy. We cannot forget. It happened on a Sunday, and fortunately, in some respects, it was good that it happened on a Sunday. I mean, when the Japanese look at the errors that they made, doing it on a Sunday morning when many of the sailors were off the ships going to religious services on shore, and the fact that they missed the carriers. Those carriers were at sea at the time, and they turned around and came back in the Battle of Midway. 6 months later, we won that battle, which was a turning point in the war. And they did not damage our dry docks or the oil storage. So it could have been a much more grievous sneak attack for us, more casualties, and could have hurt us more severely. So they made some mistakes, but the fact that they caught us napping was something that we never want to happen again. So we always, it's always, many times we say it happened on a Sunday. And so we always have, right now today, you and I and every American, we have men and women serving around the country, training the way we're going to fight, but we don't pull triggers right now, and except in this war on terror when we have to. But peace through strength, we need to deter war, but we also need to remember to be very alert, and we're doing that, I think, around the country today.
Admiral Lynch, let's go back to Pearl Harbor for those that haven't been, those of us who haven't been. What's it like?
Pearl Harbor today?
Well, when people go there, people love Hawaii. It's so beautiful, but Pearl Harbor is so significant for people that visit.
Well, most people will visit, when they do visit Pearl Harbor, they'll visit the Iwo Jima Memorial, and, the Arizona Memorial. And the USS Arizona, that's the bodies of all those sailors on there, and I don't know the exact number, but there have to be hundreds of those that are entombed on that ship. And it's at the spot where they went down. The ship has never been raised. That tombs have never been disturbed, and we still have oil still seeping to the surface from that battleship. And of course, there's a beautiful memorial there, and many times we go there. Today, there's a ceremony going out there right now, probably later today, our time, but a ceremony going on where we will recognize all of those who perished for the cause of freedom at that time. But it's a beautiful place. It always has been, and it's a major operating base for the United States Navy. It always has been. Of course, the Army's out there, the Air Force is out there. It's our bulwark to the Pacific, and so it means an awful lot to all of us as Americans. But it's a place for, particularly today when you go to the Arizona memorial there to remember what happened back 76 years ago.
Admiral Lynch joining us as we continue on here at KIDO Talk Radio. What did we learn from Pearl Harbor about how important the Pacific is to us then and today, sir?
Well, I think that, just look at what's going on. The Pacific is such a vast ocean, and think of all the things that are going on in that region of the world right now. It just tells you how critically important, without the highways of commerce, without the intercourse that we have with the other nations out there, with Asian Pacific neighbors and our allies, and China, what a behemoth China has become, and the strength of Japan and the Philippines, and then of course then you have the North Koreans, the situation there where they're threatening us now with nuclear weapons, and will soon have that capability if they don't already. So, and we've always sort of in past administrations have kind of said, well, it'll go away. We'll try to appease this thing and make it happen. Well, now we have a president that's stepping up and saying it's not going away and it's going to be a threat, and we better do something about it. So I'm praying that we'll have a peaceful resolution of this. I'm praying that the Chinese will come in and put some sanity in their neighbor to the north and the east there, and we'll have a happy ending here. But it's a dicey situation, but it just shows you that in this world we have so interconnected globally, whether it's commerce, whether it's your economic system, whether it's your whatever it may be, your social, and then the fact that militarily, we're just a button away, and that's a scary situation.
What about our relationship with the Japanese, and how do they view this day, sir?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think that, there were many, in fact, the Admiral Yamamoto himself said it's a huge mistake for us to awaken the sleeping bear, the sleeping giant, the United States. He had been educated here in the United States, and he was very much against the attack on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese at the time, they saw that they were the raw materials and with the restrictions that we were putting on them, and the world was putting on them because they had become such a militant country back in those days, and they felt that they were all powerful and that they could make this attack and that we would just kind of roll over, and it had just the opposite effect. So I think there's many Japanese that probably say, it was a hell of a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And they see how the crazed militarism that they had at the time in their country was not the way to go. And they've recovered from that. They've rebuilt their nation. They're strong people. And they see that they want to be a world player and a friend of all nations. And so they've had this growth and entrepreneurial spirit that's it's been a joy to behold, and we as Americans can take pride that we did the occupation after World War II, but we immediately, as quickly as we could, get them back on their feet so we could move out and let them grow and prosper as they have done.
Rear Admiral Thomas Lynch joining us, Executive Chairman of New Day USA. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. We take a look at the condition of the Navy today, sir. How is it, and how important is it to have a Navy? Is a Navy relevant today, sir?
Well, there's no question, Kevin. You're talking to a Navy admiral, retired Navy admiral, and ask me if the Navy is relevant. And I'm very much concerned about where we are today. We are where we were back when I had my first command back in the early 70s, post-Vietnam, when we had a dearth of ships. The fact is 70% of the globe is covered by water. The fact is that we need to have freedom of the seas for international commerce, and there's no one out there except the United States Navy that can help protect that for the nations that otherwise would be impaired. And we have a military strategy of our country has always been, let's be forward deployed. And you mentioned Desert Shield. I mean, I was just finishing up a 6-month deployment in the Mediterranean when Saddam went into Kuwait and took over that country. And we immediately took the battle group, went through the Suez Canal. We've been in a position to go 700 miles to strike the Iraqis that continued south from Kuwait into Saudi Arabia. And we had another battle group in the Persian Gulf doing the same thing. And so I was in the Red Sea. So I believe to this day that it caused Saddam to hesitate. And when he did, he lost the initiative and we then had 6 months to marshal 500,000 troops in Saudi Arabia because he had a 6-lane highway right straight to Riyadh if he wanted to continue into Saudi Arabia. So we were able to do that. And that's the benefit of being forward deployed. And your Navy will always be forward deployed. Right now, we have a dearth of ships. We're trying to build back up. Under Reagan, we were getting to 600 ships, and now we're down, I think it's like 200 and some ships. And our Navy is stretched thin. They're overworked, and they're running on air. So it's really been a difficult time for the Navy. But the men and women that we have never been stronger, never been brighter, and never been more committed than they are today. I sit here in Annapolis as we speak, former superintendent of the Naval Academy. It's unbelievable the quality. We have the quality of the young men and women stepping up since 9/11. It's never been higher. The applications are out of sight, and the qualifications are so much. I would have difficulty, probably would not get in the Naval Academy today. But it's a tribute to the young men and women. And now at this ripe old age of my life, I can, as chairman of New Day USA, a mortgage lending company for veterans, home loans, and we have 700. The average age is 26. So the millennials today are strong, good, hardworking, dedicated people, and they're not the malign group that you hear so much about. I don't see that at all, and I'm very proud of being chairman of New Day USA because we're giving back to the veteran. Free home loan appraisal, give them the loan, customize the loan for them. So it's been a great thing.
Rear Admiral Thomas Lynch with us, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. A final thought, back to those brave young men that sacrificed their lives on December 7th, 1941. What goes on in your mind when you think of them today, sir, and their families?
I think of all the hopes and dreams that were lost. War is a waste. No one wants war. Those of us in uniform, we're the last people that want war. And we've seen the horrors of war. We know what it means, and we only serve and make those sacrifices for all of Americans so that we can deter war. And to me, that's what it's all about. When I think of this day, 76 years ago, I mean, how all the anguish and grief, and it just would take the wind out of your sails, much like when President Kennedy was assassinated. For those of us who were, I was around in 41, but I was born in 42. But I can imagine what went through, and then all those young people that lost so much, and the mothers, the Gold Star mothers and families that lost their loved ones, and then that war went on for over 4 years, where people were gone from home over 4.5 years, fighting that war in the Pacific and in Europe, and so very, very difficult time for the country. But we united us. We came back. That's the strength. When President Kennedy was assassinated, I experienced that. I was captain of the Navy football team in '63 with Roger Staubach, and we're just going in the Army-Navy game, and President Kennedy's assassinated. So the game was canceled, and a couple of days later, Jackie said, no, that we wanted this game to be played, so it was played on this day, December the 7th, 1963, and we beat Army 5 times in a row, went on to the Cotton Bowl, lost to Texas in the Cotton Bowl, but it was when we got that word that President Kennedy was assassinated, I'm sure men and women around the world felt the same 76 years ago in Pearl Harbor. Oh my goodness, what is our future? What is happening? I feel so unsteady. And of course, with Kennedy, it was Camelot and the beautiful family and all the things that we had ongoing in this country, and the grief and the anguish and the hurt and the disappointment and the fear of the unknown. And but we came through all of that and stronger and better. And I think we did that in World War II, the greatest generation. We did it in '63, and we will continue to do it in this war on terror, because we have young men and women who are stepping up, and they are as good and smart and bright and intelligent and as committed as any generation before them. I see that every day at New Day.
And by the way, if people want to get a hold of New Day, what can they do?
Well, we advertise quite a bit. New Day USA, we have a website, www.newdayusa.com, and we'd love to talk to any American, but particularly if you're an active service member or you're retired or you've served on active duty, you are eligible for a VA home loan. Many don't know that. Many veterans don't know that they are eligible for a VA home loan. And at New Day, we do whatever we can to get that veteran in the home. Free home appraisal, we have the lowest rates possible. No fees. I mean, we try to do whatever we can to help that veteran get what he needs to get back on the road to stability and saving for the future. Well, we have a motto. They made our dreams possible. We want to make a dream possible for them now.
Well, actions, not words, sir. Rear Admiral Thomas Lynch, we'd love to have you back, and thank you, sir.
Anytime. Thank you, sir, and keep up the good work. Right. And, by the way, big game Saturday. Go Navy. Beat Army.
I think you got your hands full this year, sir.
Oh, no question about it. I'm going to be there, but Army's very tough this year.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. What a nice thought there. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, think about Pearl Harbor Day. And let's examine that, the impact it's had on our lives, and have we learned our lesson? You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, Mayor Beater decides he's going to comment on the Jack Phillips Baker case currently being debated by the Supreme Court. By the way, we're not going to tease you with it. From Mayor Beater's tweet account, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Boise is a welcoming city, a place of tolerance, freedom, and refuge for all, and my job as mayor is to protect all residents from discrimination. I support hashtag LGBT non-discrimination protections in the hashtag Masterpiece case at SCOTUS today. We must live in a society that is hashtag open to all. Now, again, Dave Beater jumping into this issue that we've been discussing at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, where you have Jack Phillips, who has said, look, my religion prohibits me from baking a cake for a same-sex couple. You have people that have gone to the Colorado Human Rights Commission and sued him, saying, no, you're going to bake the cake. Now, why is the mayor of Boise jumping into this? I don't know. By the way, was it Jim that sent me that email? Yeah, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Can Mayor Beater not understand, at least it appears to me, that nobody wants this stadium? So you can move it to wherever. If you want a downtown stadium, I'll tell you where you should go. You should go to Meridian. They have a lot of land there. You should go to Nampa. You could turn that Idaho Center complex with CWI into some type of huge sport complex. You go somewhere where the tax base will support it and is not deluged and bludgeoned by taxes as people are in the city of Boise. But we'll get to Mayor Beater. He's apparently has enough free time. Can you imagine those town hall meetings when people just start giving them their opinion back? He doesn't like negative feedback. He likes to ribbon cut. Traffic and weather together. All right. Just kidding. Coming up, we're going to hear from Tanya J. Powers on the latest concerning Al Franken. Is it time for Franken to go? Cindy Caldwell, I ask you to please stand by. We'll get to you next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And quickly, let's roll to Cindy, who joins us now from Caldwell. Cindy, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. I just really wanted to thank you for having the Admiral Lynch on. And, I wanted to say that, despite years of our Navy, our whole entire military being dismantled and in a state of, I would say, non-preparedness, I am so glad that we have a president now who understands this. President Trump, despite there is a divisiveness in this nation, there are value systems that will always go contrary. You know, Colin, whatever his name is, if he wants to go join the People's Republic of China, fine. He has that same, rather mentality. If others want to report him, I couldn't care less about your mayor beater of Boise. I go specifically over there to help Labrador campaign or go to Gowan Field or other things that I choose to do. He wants to embrace, HIV, AIDS, whatever have you, I could not care less. But people that I honor today, our military, I saw a policeman the other night, and it was cold out, and he's like, checking on a guy, on the other side of traffic. I have no idea what the gentleman did, but I'm thinking, really, isn't this ridiculous? They're out in the street, trying to keep us all safe here. And that is what our president is trying to do with his travel bans. The radical, I would say political Islam has always been after the Jew and that what they call the Sunday people. Isn't it interesting that also on Sunday what happened at Pearl Harbor? We have to know our enemy. And this president seems to very clearly understand that, where you have the socialist humanists, you have these people driven through decades. Does it surprise me that they know little about Americanism, patriotism, and what those people in World War II were standing for and doing? 17-year-olds, now they're little babies with their cell phones and want their safe spaces. So I'm out there, my heroes, despite all these, judges who are just, holdovers from Obama. My heroes are people like, and sorry to speak to that retired federal judge because it makes me so angry. LaVoy Finnegan is my hero. The Bundys are trying to stand up against this onslaught of just constant pushback by a party that can't accept our commander-in-chief. And I am so proud of you, Donald Trump, today, President Trump, for standing for our military. And I will just continue on for every political candidate that seems to understand that we need to build back up our military. So, Kevin, Thank you. I am honored. My husband served in the Navy. He died at 33, and he always said to me right before he died, Cindy, that was my finest moments. So, go Navy. I have other branches of the service. My brother's a Marine. But I am just so proud of you veterans that are out there and those actively serving that choose to serve in this America instead of not wanting to, even if someone doesn't want to represent America in the Olympics. Well, go with Russia. They're
right.
going under an unknown name. Bye, Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye, Cindy. Thank you very much. We're joined by Tanya J. Powers to talk about Time's, group of the year, the Me Too movement. In addition to that, the end of Al Franken. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, there is an Al Franken. He is supposed to speak on the Senate floor this morning at 11:30 Eastern. We will be anchoring that. I will be anchoring that along with Jared Halpern from Fox News Radio. So we will have to find out what he has to say at that point. Will he resign? Who knows? But he's going to make an announcement at that point.
I like how you said that. Will he resign? Who knows?
Well, we don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation as to what he's going to do, but it is on the Senate floor, which is going to be really interesting if that's what happens. So,
how unusual is this that you have fellow senators calling on him to resign, calling on him saying it's time to go, whether they're Democrats or Republicans? Is this different from any other case that we've seen before?
Well, I mean, it certainly feels like it. I mean, usually you don't have, your own party telling you you need to step down. That's certainly. Of course, we're in weird times now anyway.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things going on that, truthfully, I never thought I would see, and I never thought I'd see that either. I mean, yesterday we saw Democrats, I think 13 women and 19 men have so far come out and told their fellow Democrat, you need to resign. That's kind of strange times anyway, and the fact that he's going to make an announcement on the Senate floor, I think that's going to be really interesting. A lot of people are saying, well, if he was going to resign, he wouldn't do it there. Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see at 11:45 Eastern.
Tanya J. Powers joining us from Fox News Radio in New York. Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. How do we compare and contrast that with what's going on with Judge Moore in Alabama? Mitch McConnell said that if he gets elected, then he hopes he resigns. It's just kind of odd that, the Senate is dealing with both of these issues, Senator Franken and possibly Senator Moore. Back to your point, Tanya, we do live in interesting times.
Well, there isn't so far an across-the-board way that this is being handled by either party. Well, I think if the Democrats, put enough pressure on Franken to get him to resign, I think that makes a huge statement among what they're going to put up with their party and what they won't. With the Republicans so far, with Roy Moore, what we saw was the RNC pulling their funding, and then they gave it back. Mitch McConnell has already said, that he didn't, feel that Roy Moore should, be a senator, and then he's kind of dialed that back to go, well, we'll leave it up to the voters of Alabama. Excuse me. So it's been interesting to see how each party handles these allegations when they've cropped up.
Yeah, it is interesting. In time deciding that was the issue, the people of the year. Me Too. Hashtag Me Too.
Yeah, the Silence Breakers are the ones that got the Person of the Year, which is a group, and of course this is not the first group to be selected for Person of the Year. This hashtag has been a huge movement. Tarana Burke is the one who started that about 10 years ago, actually, that hashtag. And finally now she's one of the people profiled in the Time article. It's not just, the well-known people who have spoken out. It's also the people that we didn't know their names, and some we still don't know their names because they actually had a woman in there who represents the women who didn't, who don't want to speak out publicly or can't or don't feel like they can do that at this point. So they're represented in there as well, and on the cover as well, because if you look at the cover, there's these women facing the camera, and then there's an elbow that's sort of like stuck in the side of the picture. And a lot of people were like, wow, that's just really bad photo editing on Time's part. And then they were like, wait a minute, this is to actually symbolize the women who don't want to be, outed in public for whatever reason.
Strange times we live in. We appreciate our political expert breaking that down for us.
You have a political expert now?
Well, that's you.
I don't need to correct you again, do I? No. The listeners already know that I'm not, right?
Right.
Okay.
The hashtag fake news.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya J. Powers, thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Tanya J. Powers with the very latest. We go back to the situation with Al Franken. Mr. Franken is in some big trouble today. And for the past, here you have Senator Kirsten Gillibrand talking about Senator Franken.
Enough is enough. I mean, this is a conversation we've been having for a very long time, and it's a conversation that this country needs to have. And I think when we start having to talk about the differences between sexual assault and sexual harassment and unwanted groping, you are having the wrong conversation. You need to.
Does anybody ever want to be groped?
Draw a line in the sand and say none of it is okay. None of it is acceptable. And we, as elected leaders, should absolutely be held to a higher standard, not a lower standard, and we should fundamentally be valuing women.
Sure, I get that. Yeah, I suppose there is a type of wanted groping, but if that were, would they call that groping?
As a mom who has to explain this to my children, as somebody who has to set an example for what this country should be tolerating and not be tolerating, it's not equipped to do that. And so, yes, of course, he is entitled to that process, but I think it would be better for the country for him to offer that clear message that he values women, that we value women, and that this kind of behavior is not acceptable.
Can't value women when you have photos of you fondling and groping them and all these allegations that continue to come up again and again and again. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDU. But we haven't talked about the mayor of the city of Boise for quite some time, and that is Dave Beater, and he's got a couple issues going on here. Number one, on Twitter, and by the way, I'm having so much fun defending the president on Twitter. There are a lot of people that use Twitter, and they don't have lives because they spend the whole day fighting back and forth. Who has time for this? Anyway, But is this tweet out of line from the mayor? Boise is a welcoming city, a place of tolerance, freedom, and refuge from all. My job as mayor to protect the residents from discrimination. And basically, he comes out in favor of the people suing Jack Phillips, the baker in Colorado. It really has nothing to do with him. And it goes back to that non-binding resolution. Remember when we were debating Obamacare? And Mayor Beater decided that he and his acolytes on city council, they were going to pass a non-binding resolution saying Obamacare is the best ever. And you see this little tiptoeing into national politics. Now, I don't know if the mayor ever has bigger aspirations. I don't know if he's ever going to step up. I guess this would be his year. Maybe he could run on a primary against A.J. Belukoff to be the governor of Idaho. He could do what he's done for Boise to the entire state. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And then you have the mayor who, again, unless it's a ribbon cutting, doesn't really appear on places, which is, his decision. He's the mayor. But why in the world, with all due respect to Mayor Beater, would he jump into this case? Does he feel that passionately about this? It really has nothing to do with the mayor. It has nothing to do with the city of Boise. It really doesn't, unless you're trying to pander or what have you. It comes down to this when we're taking a look at this baker. It comes down to whether or not religion trumps the law, and whether or not the law is going to respect the First Amendment. And you had a young man by the name of Mark who called in yesterday who said, look, this is just, if they back Jack Phillips, it's going to be open discrimination on people that, are gay, that are homosexuals, because you can decline service. Now, again, whether you have a big business or small business, I don't know why anybody would want to go to someone that doesn't want them, that doesn't agree with their philosophy, or at least doesn't make you feel good. It's like yesterday, I'm at this establishment, and the waitress was horrible. She was just having a bad day. You almost wanted to say, I'm sorry. What do you want? Iced tea, lemon, please. Okay, is that it? Sure. But, I mean, really, a baker, someone in the service industry, you go everywhere else. You don't have to serve people, or do you? If you decline service, does that mean that's discrimination? And like I said, I really don't understand why the mayor is jumping into this on Twitter. But maybe, again, he was looking for something to do when he's deciding where to put the new stadium that no one really wants and really we can't afford. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, here's the other side of the scale. This is Jack Phillips.
Though I serve everyone who comes into my shop, like many other creative professionals, I don't create custom designs for events or messages that conflict with my conscience. I don't create cakes that celebrate Halloween, promote sexual or anti-American themes, or disparage people, including individuals who identify as LGBT, because I respectfully declined to create a custom cake that would celebrate a view of marriage in direct conflict with my faith's core teaching on marriage. I offered to sell the two gentlemen suing me anything else in my shop, or to design a cake for them for another occasion. For that decision, which was guided by an established set of religious beliefs, I've endured a 5-year court battle. It's hard to believe that the government is forcing me to choose between providing for my family and employees and violating my relationship with God. That is not freedom. That is not tolerance.
35 members of the United States Senate have signed an amicus brief to the Supreme Court and said, uphold the lower court. This is discrimination. It should not be allowed.
So that's what it comes down to. Do you agree with Mayor Beater that we're a welcoming city? That's if you work and live in Boise, and that he supports the same-sex couple suing the baker, who says, look, I'm not going to sell you, I'm not going to create something because it violates my religious beliefs. Don't we hold religion as the most sacred right in the Bill of Rights? Do you? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And do you agree with Mayor Beater jumping into this case? You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Still time for you to go to our KIDO Talk Radio Power Business Luncheon today at Renaissance High School, West Ada School District headquarters. It starts today, I think, noon, something like that. You can go to our website for more details. It's going to be a great time. Some wonderful information. We would love for you to join us. Let's go to the phones. We go to Too Much Truth on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Too Much Truth.
Good morning, sir. This cake incident is
the cake
is a perfect example of why the founders of this country were adamant that this never turn into a democracy. Democracy is the most horrifying form of government ever devised, and that is where 51% of the people get to steal from and take the rights away from the other 49. And you're watching this play out in real time. So many of our grandparents died in vain fighting for freedom, fighting for a republic, fighting for the Republican form of government. And it's gone. It's over. We lost it. There's no more freedom. There's no more liberty. We have become a horrifying democracy of theft and extortion. When one group of people can ruin another person's life over their choices, he didn't cause any physical or financial harm to that couple that wanted the cake, but they ruined his life. So there's no such thing as brave people in the United States anymore. They won't stand up to just obvious tyranny. I picked a fight. I told you when Trump got elected, we all got to pick a fight with the government. Get out there and pick a fight. We got to win. We got to help Trump. Nobody's doing it, or very few. I picked a fight with the government. I've taken it all the way to Washington, D.C. over miners' rights on mining claims. I offered you the story. You wouldn't take it. I offered Alex Jones the story. I offered everybody the story. Nobody would take it. Nobody wants to stand up and fight. Well, I'm still fighting, and I'm going to win. And when I'm done, miners will have their granted rights back. And I don't care if they take everything from me, because at some point, you have to make a stand. You can't just say, well, because the government passed a law, we have to obey the law, because they can just keep taking everything under those conditions. And nobody seems to have a line in the sand. It's like they will just abandon all morals and all decency and all freedom because it's law. Well, it's law. We have to obey the law. Kevin, do you have a line in the sand? Is there some place where you will say no? I mean, if they pass a law, if 543 people that you have no idea who they are sign a document that says we can take anything we want, we can do anything we want, is there ever a time when you will say, no, I don't think so?
Well, obviously, yes.
Well, what is the line? Because apparently, the Boston Tea Party was over 1/1,000,000th of what's going on today. These people said, no, forget it. You are not going to turn us into slaves. You are not going to take our right to our own life from us. And since then, we have nothing. We have no freedom, no liberty. Everything is against the law.
Well, wait a minute. We do have freedom and liberty. You can go where you want and do what you want.
No, you can't, not unless you pay the king to do it.
I can walk down to the store and do what I want. I don't have to check with anybody.
Well,
that's freedom.
So far, with all the people that I've presented this to, they've only come up with two things that we have left in freedom. We can walk down the side of the road, and we can ride a bike down the side of the road.
Well,
that's it. No one's ever come up with anything else. Everything else, you have to pay the king to do it, or it's illegal.
Well,
and I mean everything.
All right, Too Much Truth. We appreciate you, and we'll resonate on those thoughts. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Keep it here at Fox News next. And then coming up, we'll just continue to take a look at this issue involving the new stadium in downtown Boise. How many people are fired up about that. Not just the folks that live and work in the city of trees, but throughout the area. Is it going to be an economic boom or bust? And do you want your taxpayer dollars going for the good times?